Have you ever watched someone slowly poison your family for years while smiling to your face? My neighbor spent a decade trying to seduce my father right under my dying mother's nose. Everyone saw it, but nobody stopped it. By the end of this story, you'll understand how I destroyed her perfect life without laying a finger on her. But first, you need to know why my own father almost betrayed us and what I discovered about her daughter that changed everything. You know how some people just feel wrong the moment you meet them? I was 9 when Margaret moved into the house next door. She was 42, divorced blonde with too much makeup and dresses cut too low for a suburban neighborhood. My mom was sick even then, lupus. Some days she couldn't get out of bed. Dad worked double shifts at the factory to pay medical bills. Margaret showed up with a casserole the first week, then another, and another. "Your poor father works so hard," she'd say to me, standing at our door in those dresses. "A man needs proper meals." Mom smiled weakly from the couch. She always saw the good in people. I saw the way Margaret's eyes tracked my father across our yard. Hungry eyes. At first, it was small things. She'd need help moving furniture always when Dad got home from work. Her car wouldn't start only when he was outside. She'd bake extra desserts and bring them over in the evening, wearing perfume so strong it made my throat close. Dad was polite, just being neighborly, he said. If I'd known this would last 10 years, maybe I would have burned her house down then. But you know what was worse than Margaret's games? Watching my mother pretend not to notice. I turned 13. Mom's condition worsened. She needed a wheelchair now. Margaret's visits increased. She'd stop by 3 times a week with food, with offers to help with laundry, with suggestions that Dad looked tired and maybe needed someone to talk to. I understand the burden of caring for someone sick. She'd whisper loud enough for Mom to hear from the next room. I'd find Mom crying in the bathroom after Margaret left. Dad started taking longer to come home. Just helping Margaret fix her porch, he'd say, or her fence, or her gutters. Always something. Then I noticed her daughter. Elena was my age. Quiet, dark-haired, nothing like her mother. She'd sit on their porch reading while Margaret paraded around. Sometimes our eyes would meet, and I'd see something there. Shame maybe, understanding. When I was 16, the worst incident happened. I came home early from school sick, walked into our kitchen and found Margaret pressing against my father by the sink, her hand on his chest, his face conflicted. "Paul," she was saying, "you deserve happiness. You're dying here taking care of her." I dropped my backpack. They jumped apart. Margaret's face flashed annoyance before sliding into that fake smile. "Sweetheart, I was just—" "Get out," I said. My voice shook. "Get out of our house." Dad looked at the floor, ashamed, relieved I'd interrupted, angry I'd seen. Margaret left, but not before touching Dad's arm. "A promise. I'll be here when you're ready." I told Mom I felt sick again and went to my room. Through the wall, I heard Margaret's voice in her own house yelling at Elena about something. Then silence. That night, I made a decision. I would protect my family from this woman, no matter what it took. What do you do when you're just a kid against a predator who's patient? You watch, you learn, you wait. I started documenting everything. Every time Margaret came over, I wrote it down with timestamps. Every time Dad went to help her, I noted how long he was gone. I took photos of her standing at our fence in those dresses waiting for him. Mom died when I was 19. The funeral was the worst day of my life for 2 reasons. One, I'd lost my best friend. 2, Margaret showed up in a black dress that hugged every curve, offering condolences while her eyes measured my father like a prize she'd finally won. Dad was broken, hollow, vulnerable. Margaret moved fast. Casseroles became dinners. You shouldn't eat alone, Paul. Dinners became invitations to her house. Within 3 months, they were dating. My mother wasn't even cold in the ground. I was in college now studying business, but I came home every weekend. I watched Margaret wrap herself around my father's life. She'd be there in Mom's kitchen wearing Mom's apron, standing where Mom should be standing. "Isn't it wonderful?" she'd say to neighbors. "Paul and I finally found each other after all these years." Fate works in mysterious ways. Fate, like she hadn't been circling him like a vulture for a decade. The neighborhood thought it was sweet. The lonely widow and the grieving widower finding comfort. I knew better. Then something happened I didn't expect. If you've ever felt powerless while someone destroys everything you love, if you've watched a manipulator win while everyone applauds, put a like, because this story is for people who understand. Write in the comments, what's the most manipulative thing someone did to your family? And subscribe because I have a collection of these stories, and each one ends with justice. One Saturday, I was home and saw Elena sitting alone on her porch. She was 21 now, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with her mother's obvious sexuality. Sad eyes, always sad eyes. I walked over. First time I'd spoken to her in years. "Your mom's inside with my dad," I said. Not a question. "I know," she said quietly. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For her, for all of it." She looked at me then, really looked. "I watched her do this to your family for years. I told her to stop. She never listens." We talked for 3 hours. Elena told me everything. How Margaret had destroyed her parents' marriage by having an affair. How she'd moved here specifically because she'd seen my dad at a community event and decided he was her next target. How she'd planned the whole thing. She told me that man has money saved and he's loyal. Perfect husband material. Just need to wait out the sick wife. Elena's voice cracked. She said that about your dying mother. I felt something shift inside me. Not rage, colder than that. She's planning to marry him, Elena continued. Thanksgiving, she already picked out a dress. That's when the plan formed. You know what's better than revenge? Checkmate. I started spending more time with Elena. At first, it was strategy, enemy reconnaissance, but something unexpected happened. I liked her. She wasn't her mother. She hated the manipulation, the games. She'd been trapped watching her mother destroy families and couldn't stop it. We bonded over that shared helplessness. And we bonded over something else. We understood each other. 3 months later, I asked her to marry me. She stared at me in shock. "Are you serious?" "Completely." "Is this because of our parents or because you actually—" "Both," I said honestly. "I won't lie. This started as a way to mess with your mother. But Elena, I've fallen in love with you. You're nothing like her. You're everything she's not. So yes, this will absolutely destroy her perfect plan, and yes, I want to marry you anyway." She laughed. First real laugh I'd ever heard from her. She's going to lose her mind. I know. We got married at City Hall 2 weeks before Margaret's planned Thanksgiving engagement to my father. We told no one. Then we went to dinner at my dad's house where Margaret was cooking. I walked in holding Elena's hand. Margaret's smile froze when she saw us together. "We have news," I said. "Elena and I got married yesterday." The serving spoon clattered from Margaret's hand. My father blinked. "You what?" "Married," Elena said, holding up her ring. "We're in love." I watched Margaret's face cycle through emotions. Shock, rage, calculation. Her daughter had just married the son of the man she'd spent 11 years hunting. "This is," she started, voice tight, sudden. "Not really," I said. "We've been together for months. Just kept it quiet. Didn't want family drama. You know how it is when parents are dating and kids get together. Complicated." Margaret's eyes narrowed. She knew. She knew exactly what I'd done. Because here's what her marriage to my father would mean now. I was her son-in-law. Elena was my dad's daughter-in-law. We were family. Legally. Permanently. Every family dinner she'd have to see me. Every holiday. Every celebration. I would be there reminding her that I knew what she was, that I'd been watching, that I'd checkmated her. More than that I'd stolen her daughter's loyalty. Elena wasn't hers anymore. Elena was mine. The engagement happened anyway. Dad proposed at Thanksgiving. Margaret said yes, but the victory was poisoned now. At the engagement party, she couldn't stop staring at Elena and me. We sat together, happy, genuinely happy, and it ate at her. "You did this on purpose," she hissed to me when we were alone getting drinks. "Did what?" "Married my daughter to ruin." "To ruin what, Margaret?" "Your love story." I smiled cold. "I married Elena because I love her. If that complicates your plans, well, that's just life, isn't it? Fate works in mysterious ways." Her face went white. I'd thrown her own words back at her. The wedding planning was torture for her. Every decision required family input. Me, Elena, Dad, Margaret. She wanted to erase my mother's memory and claim my father. Instead, she got a son-in-law who remembered everything. I made sure of it. At every dinner, I'd mention Mom. Mom used to make this dish too, remember Dad? Or Mom loved this song. Or Mom would have wanted you to be happy, Dad, but she'd also want you to remember her. Margaret would flinch every time. Elena backed me up. She'd talk about how wonderful my mother sounded, how she wished she'd known her, how lucky Dad was to have had such a devoted wife. Dad started remembering too. The fob Margaret had wrapped around him began lifting. 6 months after the engagement, Dad came to my apartment. "I need to talk," he said. We sat. He looked older, tired. "Your mother," he started, then stopped. "I loved your mother. I know. Margaret, she was there when I was weak, when I was lonely. But son, I don't love her. I don't even like her most days. She's not your mother. She'll never be. So don't marry her." I gave my word. "You can break it." He shook his head. "I'm too tired to fight. It's easier to just." "Dad," I interrupted. "Do you know how long she'd been planning this?" Elena told me. "Margaret targeted you. Years before Mom died, she decided you were her next husband. She circled our family like a predator waiting for Mom to die. Do you understand that?" His face changed. Horror. Realization. "Elena told you this?" Margaret told Elena, bragged about it. Dad sat silent for a long time. 2 weeks later, he ended the engagement. Margaret went nuclear, screaming. Threats. She tried to turn the neighborhood against him, but I'd been preparing for this. I'd quietly told neighbors the truth, showed them my documentation, let them know how long she'd been manipulating him. Public opinion shifted fast. Margaret became the villain she'd always been. She moved 6 months later, couldn't stand the whispers, couldn't stand seeing Elena and me happy, couldn't stand her failure. The day the moving truck came, I was in my yard. She stopped at the fence. "You destroyed my life," she said. "No, Margaret. I protected my family. There's a difference. I loved him. You loved what he represented. Stability, money, respectability. You didn't love him. You don't know how." She stared at me with pure hate. "I hope you're happy." "I am," I said. "Elena and I are expecting a baby. Dad's excited to be a grandfather. We're thinking of naming her after my mom. You know, keeping her memory alive." Margaret's face crumbled. She got in her car and drove away. I never saw her again. 5 years later, I'm still married to Elena. We have 2 kids. Dad lives 10 minutes away, helps with babysitting. He's dating someone nice now, someone genuine. Elena reconciled with her mother eventually, boundaries firmly in place. And me? I learned that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building something beautiful from the ashes of someone's malice. Margaret tried to steal my father. Instead, I gained a wife, a family, and peace. So if you're facing someone who thinks they can manipulate their way into your life, remember this. Patience wins. Documentation wins. And sometimes the best move is building your own happiness so strong that their poison can't touch it. Would you have done the same, or would you have handled it differently? Let me know below. And remember, protect your family. Always.